Girls of Reddit, what is the creepiest thing a man has said to you in public? I was 11 in a street market in Italy. A vendor came up and started trying to convince me to marry his son. My dad ran up and was like, "Dude, she's 11. The guy said, "My son's only 26. It's perfect. You don't look 13. I want your number. Apostrophe 911. I was once stalked by a man who worked in the store that was next to mine, and he had told me that he made his Skyrim character to look like me. I was in Paris at a Christmas market and a guy came up to me and told me I was very beautiful. Before I could say anything back, he said, "You know, I've been following you for a while and saw your friends walk away from you. I could kidnap you so quick. They would never see you again." Then he laughs. And my friend, who was only like 8 feet away and heard this exchange, pulls my arm and we start fast walking away. We cut down so many alleys, popped in and out of shops, and got on different trains, since it was nearly impossible to know if he was still following us. There were 3 of us, and while we really have no idea if he had actually been following us for a while, we assume he had been around long enough to know we spoke English, since he didn't approach me speaking French. I don't know why, but the harassment I've experienced in Paris has always been far worse than any other city. Yes, at 19 I was in a phone booth in Montmartre back in 2005, calling home late at night, time difference, not 3 steps from a busy bar, when a man pushed the glass door and tried to trap me in the booth with him. Fortunately he was drunk, and therefore a little slow. I hit him over the head with the phone and ran by. This was a guy who had found my Facebook in about half a second. I have no idea how. People I want to give it to can't find it without my help. So how does sex work for you? Does it hurt you? How do you do it? He'd found out I was disabled and decided this was an excellent and appropriate conversation piece. I was wearing my horseback riding clothes. He held the door for me and said, "You can ride me." When I kept walking into the store ignoring him, he screamed after me, "Hey bitch. I said you could ride me. This is why we can't have nice things, people." I was in Walmart and some creepy guy came up to me and my sister and pointed at his junk in sweet pants, clearly not wearing underwear, and asked if we wanted to touch it. Now I refuse to go to Walmart. That's when you hit them with the Karate Kid crane kick, since this is getting attention. I want to mention the time my brother Karate Kid crane kicked me into a full-length mirror and resulted in me getting a glass shard 1 inch deep into my back that was like a 1/4 of an inch away from my artery. Man in club came up to me and said, "Just thought I should let you know that you have great birthing hips." Apostrophe. I worked at a truck stop and needed a driver to sign something, but didn't have a pen. He was a super gross old fat guy, missing quite a bit of teeth. He said that I could borrow his pen, but then I'd have to get in his truck with him. He was going to lock the doors and I wasn't allowed to get out. I recoiled in horror as he gave me the most disturbing smile. The thought of raping me and telling me about the fantasy truly made his day. Once I was threatened with physical violence because I didn't smile when a guy told me to and didn't go out of my way to be nice to him when he sat down next to me. I was also called jailbait by a few customers when I was 15 working at a local sub shop, which my manager and coworkers thought was hilarious. So many more anecdotes could come to mind if I sat longer and thought about it, but those stick out. "You have all your teeth. I like that. I was waiting for the bus edit. Thank you for the silver. I feel honored." I got followed through Walmart and the guy kept passing by me, and every time he would whisper, "God, you're so beautiful. I love you, edit. Spelling edit too." He followed me to check out and circled the parking lot to see what car I got in. I flashed my gun while loading my groceries and then he left. I went a different way home and was so paranoid of being followed. But I wasn't. I was also 20 weeks pregnant. Scariest moment of my life. I was 14, out shopping at an Aeropostale when these 2 dudes approached me. They had to be in their mid to late 20s. They followed me around the store and kept asking me to try on the mini skirt I had picked out. asked me where I lived, my name, and just generally kept following and harassing me. I was super freaked out, hoping that my mom and brother would come back to the store soon to get me out of there. Something very similar happened to my then 13-year-old daughter and her friend at an H&M. They called me crying and begging me to get them from the mall early. When I got there, they said he'd been in his car just watching them as they waited for me to pull up, but had driven away. As soon as I got there, I did my best to make sure no cars were following us home. The idea that he might be following us and end up knowing where they live scared the hell out of me. Edit for clarity. And since this kinda blew up, the guy followed them around the store. As soon as they called me, he disappeared. So they went to wait outside. That's when they noticed he was sitting in a parked car with a direct nose to the benches they were waiting on. Having the "when this happens again" conversation instead of an "if this happens again" with them broke my heart. But, as a parent, it's stupid to be anything but pragmatic about the very shared experiences of women in our world. Screaming across the parking lot as I get into my car. Yeah, I'd be lucky if I raped you. Bitches love me. I peeled out as fast as I could. Ugh, reminds me of when a man followed me to my car after work telling me about all the disgusting things he was going to do to me. Broke into a run to get to my car. Cried the whole way home. Oh no. When I was 13, a guy grabbed me by the wrist and he said, "Hey sexy, wanna come with me so I can show you something? I love bad girls like you." I was so stupid that I was still worried about being rude and apologized to him for saying no, but when he tried to fully grab my arm I just ran. These creeps know how to pick the most polite girls. They do, though. Predators pick up on body language and won't go after someone who seems like they'll fight back or be confident. I was in 6th grade and had 3 boys discuss my breasts in front of me like I wasn't there. The first boy said I stuffed my bra. The second one came up and explained to him how he could know that I didn't. The third joined in the explanation of real vs fake, like they were looking at a painting on a wall, while I sat there flabbergasted at being noticed in that way. I was 17 and cleaning a window at work, on one knee. Guy, in front of his 8-year-old son. You like being on your knees? It happens a lot more the younger women are. Creepy guys know that the older we are the less likely we are to stand for that shit. So if you're young who gives a shit about being polite, give them a curled lip, raised eyebrow and a well-placed do and watch their faces fall. Not so much what was said at first, but the insistence and continuing to walk with me on my route for like 20 minutes that I must save his email address. Words alone are creepy on occasion, but it's the absolute worst when there's an element of being trapped. A homeless guy once told me he wanted to throw me in a bathtub full of jello and make love to me. Edit. I laughed really hard when this happened. Who knew we'd get so much mileage out of it 20 years later? Merry Christmas, baby, while grabbing my ass in Times Square. It was the summer. Thanks for the silver razzmatazz. Had an older man ask me to stir his mixed drink with my finger to make it sweeter. This was at a fancy Irish dinner party my family attended. I was 13. This guy was around 50. He went on to make a joke about me eating a sucker later on. Something about blowing pop. Still makes me nauseous after 20 years. I recently had a similar situation happen to me at work. Told me to stick my finger in his iced tea to make it sweeter when I offered him sugar. Told him, "I don't think you want your iced tea to taste like a bitter millennial sir." Put sugar down and walked away. He stopped being creepy the rest of his meal. You're gonna get spanking in a sing-song tone. I was working at a mom and pop burger joint and made a silly mistake. I was 19 at the time. The dude in question was 60 over 70. When I got embarrassed he acted proud of himself and stated, "Look how red's stunning." I had rainbow colored hair as a teenager. One time at work a 60-plus-year-old customer said to me, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" Never mind. You probably don't have any down there. I've never been so uncomfortable. I'll never understand why anyone would think it's okay to ask something like that. But I guess that can be said for this entire thread. Barf. I was walking down the street toward a bar to meet some friends one night. A man drove by me once, then turned his car around and drove ahead of me and parked up the street. He walked toward me on the sidewalk. Then when he reached me, turned completely around to walk beside me. At first he tried to be friendly and suggestive. When I wouldn't respond and tried to walk faster to get to the bar, he told me he was going to put me in his car and take me to a special place. I started to run around a corner. He ducked behind the building there and cut me off ahead. I ran full speed across a busy street to the nearest CVS, which was open 24 hours, and called my boyfriend, who sped over to pick me up. When we walked outside, the man was waiting by the exit with his front and rear car doors open, like he was waiting to force me into his backseat. Edit. To people asking/commenting about calling the police. Yes, I totally agree that I should have done that, but I can't really describe how little rational thought went into my reaction. I also think that unfortunately a lot of women fall victim to the pressure to not make a scene. That societal voice in your head that tells you maybe you're just being paranoid or overreacting. That tells you not to be that girl. That is powerful and dangerous. I knew full well this man was trying to harm me, and I still didn't want to sound crazy or not be believed. For any women reading this, next time you feel threatened, do not be me. Look crazy, make a scene, scream in public, and call the cops. To the people asking what my husband, then boyfriend, did when I called, I wasn't especially coherent about what had happened. Just that I was being followed and needed help. He came from the bar where he was drinking and got me out, and I'm quite glad he didn't know the details at the time and he didn't try to fight the guy. My husband is a large, strong man trained in boxing. He is also Latino. Leaving aside the fact that the guy could have had a gun or a knife, the police have guns and are not known to respond well to large, possibly intoxicated Latino men starting fights in parking lots. While I was cutting a man's hair at beauty school, he told me to keep talking because it excites him a lot, and proceeded to show me his mini-me. At that point I'd just give him a really ducked up haircut. Lol. I should have. Luckily my teacher was close enough to see what was going on and gave him a good telling off. They banged that man. Had a strange old man ask my 3-year-old if she wanted to go home with him. And then you ran him over with your car, right? When you're 18 I'm going to take you to Europe, said my grade 8 teacher. Was walking with my friend and a random dude said to her, "Hey cutie, I like the way you walk." When we ignored him he said, "I see how it is. We're high school kids, barely 5 foot tall." He followed us for 2 blocks before we made it to a crowded crosswalk. At the local bar, there's a little old man, like 70, who goes and gets a bouquet of roses and gives them out to all the young girls. It seems really sweet, unless you happen to hear what he's saying. One time he told me that he wonders what my pussy smells like. I don't go to that bar anymore. I was working, doing the whole "how are you" bit to a customer. He said if I was any better it'd be twins. Normal so far, and Phoebe female, and hot like you, sir. Do you mean to tell me you'd want to bang your twin sister? This old man, probably 60 something, told me I looked exactly like his favorite porn star. I was chillin' with this dude at a party-ish thing while deployed once. I'd mentioned a few times that I had a girlfriend back home, and he seemed cool and we had a lot in common. So we were fast buddies until about 4 AM or so, when we're all sitting by a fire, and he asked if he could hug me. Drunkenly, I was like, okay, whatever. But then he asked if he could kiss me, and I was like, nah dude, I have a girlfriend. I'm gay as hell. You know that, haha. And his face went real cold, and he said, until I catch you walking back to your dorm alone later. I honestly cold cried. I was so scared. Thank duck a group of dudes I recognized walked past a few minutes later to go get early morning French toast at the chow hall. So I tagged along fast as I could. Never saw that dude again. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.